Hi, Jan here, the Pagan Prepper, and I want to welcome all my old friends and you who've had so many new subscribers recently, so welcome everybody. And this video isn't targeted at anyone at all, not the prepping community or the pagan community. This is for absolutely everybody. It's something that everyone should really give some thought to and talk to your friends and family about, because this is the ultimate prep. This is something not that might happen or you're worried will happen. It's something that is definitely going to happen. You know, most of us don't know when. And when it comes more unexpectedly, that's when your friends and family are thrown into a turmoil of not knowing what you wanted. So even if it's, 20, 30, 50 years into the future, please give some thought now as to what you'd like. I've been in the unfortunate situation with my first husband, my father and my mother, of not knowing exactly what they wanted. And it's the final things that you can do for them after they pass away, and you want to get it right. You really want to do what they would have wanted, but if you don't know, it's kind of really hard. And I found some of the things the hardest were things like choosing what to dress them in. Which is, it shouldn't be such a big decision, but somehow it was. And what music would they want for their funeral? My mum and dad both had in their wills that they wanted to be cremated. But if you haven't made any sort of plans known, then your loved ones are left just floundering, and they just do what they think. So I honestly think it's an act of love to get your preparations in place ready. Now I did mine, I had a long spell in hospital about 4 years ago, and I kind of expected to die then, but having said that, I've been expecting to die. 20 years ago a doctor phoned me at home and said you need to come into hospital because you could die at any minute. And I just said, well, so could you. We don't know how long we've got. But I was halfway through painting a bedroom, so I wasn't going back in then. And here we are 22 years later, and I'm still going strong. As my mum used to say, a creaky ship won't sink. But after I was in hospital the last time, I prepared what I call the inevitable cupboard. And that's a cupboard in my sideboard in the lounge, but I tried all day yesterday to do this film in there, showing you the actual cupboard and the sideboard, but there was no way that I could get the lighting right. It's not great in here, but we'll just have to make do, because I wanted to get this film made because I think it is important. So what I have in my inevitable cupboard is, first of all, a book of instructions, folder. And on the very first page, I've got information you might need about me. It goes from my date of birth to my national insurance number. I don't know if they'll need that to inform authorities or not. Who I've been married to, there's only 2 of them. Where I've lived, my professional titles, voluntary work that I've done, all this sort of thing. I included my birth certificate. I can't remember if they did need that for funerals that I've been involved in, but if they need it or not, it's there. And then I've got instructions about my ashes. This was something that when my dad died, he'd said that he wanted to be cremated, but in the end he sat for 3 years in a casket on my sideboard, because my mum, my sister and I kept debating about what we were going to do with the ashes, and we couldn't come up with something that we all agreed on. And there was actually one time when, because my mum and my sister lived a 4-hour drive away from me, and I was going to visit them, Mum said, can you bring Daddy with you, because I've decided what to do with him. Oh yeah. And she said, well, my dad grew fuchsias and used to win prizes for it, and she said, I'm going to get a huge great big garden tub and put a fuchsia in there and put Daddy's ashes on top. And all the way in the car I was just so upset, and I was saying, she can't do that. What if a cat uses it as a litter tray? What happens if the frost comes and the pot bursts open? What happens if she moves? What's going to happen to my dad then? So when I got there I said, I'm sorry Mum, gave her all the reasons why I thought it was a bad idea, and she eventually agreed with me. But in all those years that we were trying to decide about Dad, I was saying, Mum, what do you want for you? You know, I mean, hopefully it's going to be years and years and years, and Dad can sit quite happily on my sideboard until, you know, a decision is made. And all she ever said was, I want to go in with Daddy, because Dad was in a beautiful oak casket. And she just said, I want to go in with Daddy. But I was saying, and then what? Then what do you want? And she never ever came up with a decision about what she wanted. So eventually, when Mum passed away, she did go into a casket with my father, but then back on my sideboard. Now what? Now where do we go with it? But I had, some years before that, come across an article in a paper on a news programme or something about a long barrow being built to hold cremated remains. And the minute that I heard about that, I thought, that's me. I want in that long barrow. But I hadn't done anything about it. It's one of those things where you just put it off and put it off and put it off and don't do anything. But eventually I was watching the reinterment of Richard III on TV. You can find that on YouTube. I think there's probably some video of that if you're at all interested. There's actually an excellent film just come out about it. I think it's called The Lost King. I'd recommend you watch that, it's absolutely excellent. But I'm watching this on TV, and under the TV is the casket with my mum and dad's ashes, and I thought, I have got to make a decision and I've got to do something today about this. So I contacted the farmer who had built the long barrow in one of his fields, and arranged to purchase a niche in there. And then later on, mum and dad's ashes were placed in there. One of my cats, who was the first of all the recent animals to pass away, he's in there with them because mum and dad loved a cat. And when the cat was alive, he used to sit on the casket that had my dad's ashes in, which may sound disrespectful, but my dad loved to have a cat on his lap, so we always let Pickle sit on him. So he was kind of friends anyway. And so the long barrow was just so right for me. It's aligned to the rising sun on the midwinter solstice. My father and my mother both died on midwinter solstice, albeit 3 years apart. So it was just right that was where they should be, and also the date that they should be interred. So eventually it was, I think it was the ninth anniversary of my dad's passing. We went in before sunrise on the midwinter solstice and took my mum and dad's ashes in and interred them in the long barrow. So they're happily sat there. I have my place waiting for me in the same niche. I will go in, Neil wants to come in, my son wants a space in there, and you know, my animals, it's going to get a bit crowded, but I'm determined who doesn't actually go in, it's got a loose stone floor, so whoever doesn't actually go in their own jar, casket, whatever, will eventually go on the floor of that chamber. So we'll all be together forever. And I had noticed, because the long barrow gets opened for open days at solstices and equinox, and we go there as a pilgrimage, not to visit my mum and dad's ashes per se, but the long barrow was built for all faiths and none, but since its opening it has developed a spiritual energy, and so we make pilgrimage at least twice a year to go there and to be part of that, because it is our eventual resting place. Lost my train of thought now, gone right off onto the long barrow. I need to come back to my plans and my preparations. So I've got that I don't want a funeral for myself. I think funerals are for the living, not the dead, and I would rather any ritual happen at the long barrow when my ashes go in. And I think, you know, there is such an enormous expense around the funeral industry, certainly in the UK, that I've opted to go for a direct cremation. So once I've died, you get the doctor to sign the certificates. There's a company that I've already been in touch with that I think is Pure Cremations that I settled on. Yeah, Pure Cremation. They will come and collect me, but they will take the body and then arrange to have the body cremated at the earliest convenience, which may be very early in the morning or whenever they can get a slot available. But they don't do anything with the deceased. So I've left instructions in my manual that I need to be prepared, ready to go. And in order to do that, I've got here the black robes that I took my vows in. I'm not probably because I've got multiple robes, I probably won't wear them again in life, so they might as well go with me in death. And I've also got this sad little person is Teddy One Eye. He's got no stuffing left. He was given to me the day I was born and I loved him so hard. But I can't bear to get rid of him. And the thought of when I pass away, him going in because nobody's going to want to keep him and I wouldn't want them to. You know, this is my memories, not theirs. And his little nose is all squashed up. And I wouldn't, I don't know if you can see, all his fur's gone, his stuffing's gone. He's wearing a little pair of pyjamas that my mum made out of an old pair of mine. And the thought of him going in the bin on top of old cabbages and with tea leaves put on him and old tea bags, that's no fitting end. You know, he's as old as I am, you know, so he will come with me. So I've left instructions to put him in my arms along with Binky Barlam, the other stuffed toy that I got the day that I was born. And something needs mentioning about this, you know, I'm in my 60s, and in those days toys hurt. This is quite a rough, scratchy kind of fur. Most of it's gone now, but nowadays toys, you know, plush toys are plush, aren't they? They're so soft and cuddly, and in my day they weren't, but we loved them anyway. And this was my Binky Barlam. Used to have a little button in the tummy that you could press and it would squeak. But so the instructions are, put me in my robes, put my toys in my arms, and send me off for disposal. So that's that. And then what do we do with my ashes? Well, I had noticed over many visits to the Long Barrow that some of the wooden caskets, because it's not a controlled environment in there, it does get damp in there, and some of the wooden caskets are not faring very well, shall we say. My mum and dad's casket at the moment is okay, because before they went in I gave it 5 coats of yacht varnish. That in itself is quite funny. I had somebody phone up while I was doing it and they said, "Oh, you're busy?" "Yeah, what are you doing?" "I'm just varnishing my parents." Just trying to keep an eye on the time, because I know I do rabbit on a lot, but we're all right. I've got plenty of time left. I just set a timer on my phone so that I don't because I only get 28 minutes on my camera. So where to put the ashes? Well, in the chamber that we're in, opposite my niche, is what we refer to him as decanter man or whiskey jar man. A chap whose ashes is in a beautiful cut glass, crystal whiskey decanter, and you know, glass is going to be fine in there. So I decided that we would all go into glass jars, and I thought, well, I'm not a drinker and don't really need a whiskey decanter, but I found these ones. Now I've no idea how much space I'm going to take up, so I thought rather have it slightly too big than too small. This is a biscotti jar. I did eat biscuits in life, but this has never had biscuits in. And this came as a twin pack. There's this one, which is kind of shorter and wider, and this one next to it. I don't know if you can see it if I adjust the camera slightly. That one next to it. So I've put in my instructions, if I fit in the smaller jar, I'll take the small one. If not, Actually, I'm going to have to measure the volume of them. I was going to say, if not, then I'll go in the taller one, and Neil or my son can go in, whichever one I'm not in, one of them can go in the other one. And if there's any ashes left over from them, I want to be in there entirely. If they've got any ashes left over, it's up to them to make their own arrangements. And then on top of my ashes, when I was christened, I was given a little, don't know if you can see that, a little expanding silver christening bracelet. They're very common here in the UK. It's quite tarnished at the moment because it's silver. But I put this on as a small child and didn't take it off, and it expanded out, and I ended up wearing it right up until my 30s when I actually eventually had it cut off. It wasn't worth getting it repaired because I can't put it back on. So it was just, it's me, it's sentimental. Again, no use to anybody else. So I said, put this on top of my ashes in my jar. So that's me sorted. I've also done a template of the niche so that we can arrange jars and see if they will all fit. If I show you. Yeah, that's the amount of space that we have. But so we can lay them all out and see if they fit before we, because it's a good hour and a half drive away. It's not somewhere that we can just pop to quickly. And then you may have seen another, on my pantry video, I think it was, where I was saying about I was buying coffee in the very big jars because I wanted them for my dog's ashes. Well, this little jar is a Dow Egberts as well. They used to do flavoured coffee, and Neil liked the hazelnut flavour. But this jar is perfect size for a cat's ashes. And so this is for Molly. I don't know if you can see her name on there. That one's for Molly. And the thing that I love about these jars is because you can take the plastic from the lid, and you can't see that because it's white fur in there, it means you can actually put some of their fur in the lid. So we've got fur in the lid and then a name there, so we know who's who. So we've got two of the cats, Molly and Pickle, in the smaller jars. And I haven't put Molly's ashes in yet. Pickle's are already in his, because the little tin that he came back from the pet crematorium in, I put that in the long barrow, and when we went back next time it was starting to rust and go not too nice, so he's already in his little jar. But we've got two Labradors to go in there as well. But even though those Labradors were within a pound of each other's weight their entire life, Reckless was a boy. He was about an inch taller than Darcy, but Darcy was from Showline, so she was bigger set. She had a bigger, heavier head, bigger bones, and yet the tins that they came back from the crematorium in are completely different sizes. His is much bigger than hers. And I don't know if that's just because it was a different person putting the ashes in tins and they just picked a different one off the shelf. I've got no idea. But we've got some of the Dow Egberts in this size. And then I've bulk bought this size. So either way we can fit them in. And then I've got name tags for them all. The two dogs that have already passed away, they've got their tags that they had on their collars. But the dogs that we have now, I've just had new ones made. That's, I don't know, my eyes aren't focused, so I can't tell if the camera's focused or not, but that one's Bears. So each of them, the red one was Reckless. They all had their colours in life. Darcy has, oh, Echo thinks she's going for a walk because she can hear chinkling. Darcy was purple. She always had a purple collar, but we couldn't get a purple name tag. So she's got a rainbow name tag. And then Echo, when we got her, was the pink. So that's Echo's one. I've got a couple for Echo, and now she's, hello Echo. What do you, no, you can't have Mummy's toys. No, they're Mummy's. No. You going to say hello, Echo? Are you saying hello? Sorry, she's distracting me. And then that one's Chester's. He's usually in green, although he's now kind of gone over into red now we've lost Reckless, because it's just so easy when they're all colour coded, and because he's got a red coat I thought, okay, you can have a red collar. So we've got the jars for the ashes to go in. I've got my clothes ready. I've also, in my folder here, I've got a list of people that I want contacted. So there's a whole list of people with phone numbers, emails, etc. So people that would care if I'm alive or not. So I've got all that in there. Instructions on, as I say, the whole getting in contact with the funeral company, and also saying, although I've spoken to them in life about this, not to have a funeral. And I've also now got to speak to Tim, who owns the Long Barrow, about my wishes for my interment, which are a little bit not normal, and so it's going to need permission from him. Not normal in the sense that it will be a very, very quiet affair, but I would like a torchlit procession up the byway to the Long Barrow. If it's permissible to have it with flaming torches, and then that can all go together for a bonfire outside. But if that's not permissible, then a lantern. And it has to be lit, because I would like to be interned between midnight and 2 a.m. I don't know if he's going to agree to that, but if everybody's silent, it shouldn't disturb anybody nearby. It would mean that somebody needs to be there to open up and lock up. But I'll have a chat with him and see what he says. He might say no, but it might be 20 years away, so we've got no idea when it's going to happen. But I'm just putting my wishes down. These are what I would like. It doesn't matter if it doesn't happen. And I've also said very, very clearly that after my cremation, there is absolutely no rush to get the ashes into the Long Barrow, as long as I end up there at some point. And I've even said to my kids, you know, if Neil and I pass away at the same time, if they don't want to go to the Long Barrow and do anything, they can just parcel me up and send me by post, and, you know, Tim will put me in. So we'll see from there. We'll see what happens. But anyway, that's really what I wanted to talk to you about today. Just talking about think about what you'd like. And I know that some people won't want to have their clothes ready, packed up for them. But if you just take a photograph of yourself wearing whatever it is you'd like to wear, and then update that every few years, so that you've always got an up-to-date record of what happened, of what you want to happen. It just takes so much trauma away from people that you've got left behind. If you want to have a funeral, choose your music, pick out things that you'd like, make a video yourself. You know, that is so lovely if you can make a video and talk to the people that you leave behind. Crematoria these days have big screens. Neil and I made a video for his father after he passed. So instead of getting up and speaking, we actually had a film that played that Neil had all photos edited into it of his dad's life and him with his dad, which was lovely. So just give some thought to it. It will happen to us all one day. Just be prepared. And can I say finally, just a shout out to Emma and Emily, people that Emily I met on a Zoom recently, and Emma, who's Laura's friend. So lovely to have you on board, and do take care, keep prepping, and lots of love. Bye.